In 2012, Disney bought Lucasfilm for a truckload of money. And with that purchase came the death of a beloved developer in LucasArts. This put Star Wars games in a weird spot, as no one actually had the power to make a game, and that changed a year later when Disney partnered with EA of all companies for exclusive rights to Star Wars titles. 2 years later, we received Star Wars Battlefront, a complete reboot of the franchise, yet 7 years later, nobody talks about it anymore. So today, I want to look back and try to solve the question, why was Star Wars Battlefront forgotten?
Distance will not protect you.
First off, wow. This game is 7 years old and looks absolutely beautiful. For coming out in 2015, it looks like it could be released today and be praised just the same as it did then. This game gives you a very unique experience when it comes to its gunplay. Out of the 4 entries in this series of games, this is the only one that doesn't have a class system. In its place are a large amount of blasters you can unlock through a credit unlock system. No microtransaction controversy just yet, so everything is actually unlocked via credits and a leveling system. It's pretty cool to unlock guns like the EE-3, which is Boba Fett's gun from the original trilogy. But it loses its charm, in my opinion, when the best gun in the game, the E11, is a default weapon. But that actually makes all of this a more fair sandbox worth of weapons. All of them have their use and charm, so I like it. You can also use the credit system for buying faces. That sounds pretty weird, but for the Rebel faction, you can buy various different faces and hairstyles, and then some fancy stuff like a Bespin guard or a pilot. For Stormtroopers, you're able to buy the million variants of them through colored pauldrons, or maybe a much more expensive skin like the Shock Trooper or the Dark Trooper. The only problem is that they're left behind a level, and at least for me, I haven't come close to that stuff, and it's been 7 years. Something that's weird is the card system. It's their attempt at a class system, but it fails in comparison. Almost all the cards end up being useless when you unlock the jetpack. Almost every player uses it and makes every map seem a lot shorter, even if it has a cooldown like the Dark Trooper from previous entries. After that, the player either rocks a thermal detonator or the sniper or a personal shield. Any combination of those make everything else seem pretty trivial in comparison. Although a novel idea by EA, it doesn't cause games to change that much. Now this game is structured very differently to its counterparts, so I'd like to separate both solo and online experiences, as truth be told, there isn't much here to go off of.
Your struggling is useless.
In Battlefront 2004, tutorial videos came in their own subsection of the menu. In Battlefront 2, the tutorial was the first level of the campaign on Geonosis. Battlefront 2015 follows this trend, with tutorials of their own, with learning the basics of flying to learning heroes with Darth Vader. Much like Modern Warfare's Spec Ops game mode, they have a difficulty ranking tied to earning stars. The main problem is that you can't do anything with these stars. There is no other tier to go through, you just complete it on the hardest difficulty and that's it. Same goes for Battlefront 1's other timed experience, simply titled Battles. It's basically an X amount of kills in X amount of time. You can do it either solo or co-op, and the only thing you receive is your time compared to your friends list. Like I said, not much here. Something I was pretty excited about going through was survival. When I was a kid, I played the hell out of modes like Modern Warfare 3 Survival and Halo Reach's Firefight. I started a game on Hoth for a practice round. I saw a pretty decent in-game cutscene, and then I fell asleep after the first round. It's boring. What made Modern Warfare 3's mode so addicting was the enemy variety and the unlock system it had for weapons and support units. Battlefront has none of that except a drop pod that gives you a couple of tokens for a rocket launcher. Past games used their limited sandbox and pushed it to the ends of the earth. This was EA's shot at it, and they fell on their faces. Because that's it. After 2 games of incredible single-player content like Galactic Conquest or their campaign, Battlefront 1 chooses to do nothing. 2 time trial modes and a lackluster survival mode. There was a reason people disliked this game when it launched. Stripping an IP of everything that made it great was sure as hell one of the reasons. But that was a long time ago. As of today, and even back then, EA knew they had nothing there. So why don't we go over and take a look at what made this game for so many people? The multiplayer.
Nothing can stop my lightsaber.
Galactic Assault is the core mode for Battlefront 1. It's a 20v20 mode with rebels trying to activate these signals for Y-Wings to spawn in. There's 3 rounds of this, and after each round, how many Y-Wings you've collected rain down on AT-ATs. The rebels win if they destroy it, and the Empire wins if they don't. It's a pretty straightforward concept. It's the most populated game mode today, and you can still find some enjoyment. If you're not getting cross-mapped by automatics, like I experienced on Hoth my first game. But if you're sick of fighting and dying on the ground, you can always get in a ship. Fighter Squadron is 2015's Battlefront 2 equivalent to space combat, just without the space. Every Galactic Assault map has a giant sky sandbox, which is converted into its own map for fighter squadrons. Although it doesn't have a ship-to-ship boarding, it makes up for it in its flying controls. I wouldn't say it's on par to Battlefront 2, but it's pretty close. Everything just feels right. I, of course, am a terrible pilot, but I like to think I'm doing a good job. Heroes and Villains is where things get interesting. It's the trifecta of Luke, Leia, and Han versus Vader, Palpatine, and Boba Fett. Looking back, the original trilogy does not have a lot of group villain cohesion. But it's a fun OP mode, just as its predecessor was. Not much you can really ask for. The game also includes Hero Hunt, where your party tries to kill one of you that is a hero. Once they kill, that hero is transferred to someone else. It's a quick and easy mode. There are only 6 heroes at launch, and what I'm playing with right now. I'd say they're all pretty effective at what they do, as you feel their presence on a map, as only one can spawn in on their team at a given time. Overall, the online experience is what this game is to everyone. There are other modes like Blast or Drop Zone, but they're just smaller versions of concepts I've already talked about. What's so frustrating is that what's here is good. There just isn't enough. And that kills it for me.
Now you finally see.
Battlefront 1 lasted 2 years with 4 expansions before EA turned their gaze to its successor. It was betrayed, abandoned, and forgotten by the people that made it and most of the Star Wars community. Maybe that's just how some games go. Maybe some are just meant to be forgotten. And I think Battlefront is one of those more recent examples. There was no controversy, no building its way back up from nothing. It was just there, and now it's gone. Battlefront 1 was forgotten. And I think that's for the best.